Welcome to this brief session on Accounting Standard 7 that relates to construction companies. The peculiarity about construction companies is that unlike other businesses, a contract for construction of either a single asset or a combination of assets that are interdependent is not completed within a 1-year period. It's only very rare that a construction project is started in one accounting year and ends in the same accounting year. Practically, it is not possible. Even if it is a single asset, like the construction of a bridge or laying of a road or construction of a company, is corporate business office or a data center or whatever it can be, or setting up a simple power plant. For all this, the project goes on for a period of more than 1 year. Sometimes it is 2, sometimes it is 3, depending on the nature of the project, it may extend. And if it is a combination of assets, it can even be longer. To commission a power project takes a minimum of 3 to 4 years. So, the companies that are engaged in doing this contract, doing this construction contract, are permitted to recognize revenue at the end of every accounting year. They are permitted, they don't necessarily have to wait till the project is fully completed to recognize the revenue or to ascertain profit or loss. They are permitted to recognize revenue and they are permitted to determine the profit or loss at the end of each accounting year based on the principles as laid down by the Accounting Standard 7. As I mentioned earlier, it applies to those contracts which are for a single asset or which are for a combination of assets that are interdependent, in the sense that the completion of one leads to the completion of the other, and before all of them are completed, the project cannot be taken as completely finished. So they are interdependent in nature. So the combination has to be completed before the business is finally ready for commission. So when it comes to Accounting Standard 7, it talks about 2 kinds of contracts. One is a fixed price contract and other one is a cost plus contract. 2 types we generally have. One is a fixed price, subject to, of course, depending on the conditions between the contractor and the contractee. It may also permit for an escalation clause, where for a given amount of escalation in the cost of material labor, there is a certain hike in the contract price, but for which the price of the contract remains fixed. And the second one, of course, is the cost plus contract, where the contractee is permitted to incur expenses that are reimbursable plus a certain percentage that is added to it to cover his margin or to cover his profits. So, in a cost plus contract, since the expenses are categorized into reimbursable and not reimbursable, sometimes it may also probably lead to a possible loss if the non-reimbursable expenses are a little more than what is actually estimated, but we will come to that later. Let us look at a contract for fixed price. The 2 important aspects here, or the 3 important aspects here that we need to understand, is that one is the ascertainment of the work that has been completed. Reliable ascertainment of work that has been completed on the contract. Generally, an architect will come and certify that so much of work is done. So it should be measurable, and reliably it must be certified as completed. That is one part. The second part is that you should be able to estimate the expenses that need to be incurred for completion of the contract in the future, which is important. It is also necessary to identify and ascertain the costs that are incurred on the contract so far. And based on this, just as we do in the case of any other business, we try and match the revenue to the cost to determine the profit or loss arising on account of the contract. So the three important things, as I mentioned, is that it is necessary to reliably ascertain the value of work that has been completed, which needs to be certified, as I said, by an architect. It is essential for us to ascertain the future costs that are likely to be incurred for completion of this contract. How much more is it required to complete this contract, based on which we'll know whether we are going to make a profit or loss in the future, as well as the ability to identify and ascertain the costs that have been incurred on the contract till this. Once we are able to do this, as I said, it is easy because we need to match revenue and cost to determine profit and loss. There are a few important things here. One is, whenever a contract is certified as completed to a certain extent, let us say 50% of the contract is complete. Suppose you have taken a contract for, let us say, 20 lakh rupees, and it is certified that 50% of the work is completed, that is 10 lakhs. The contractee would still pay 80% or 90% of the work certified, retaining 10% as retention money. He would retain 10% as retention money, and he would pay only 90%. And so accordingly, when you take the profit to the credit of the profit and loss account, applying the principle of conservatism, you recognize revenue and only take the realizable part of the revenue. How much has actually been realized from the revenue recognized, that is taken into consideration in determining the profit and loss. So when you do that, for example, let me continue with my example. I gave you this example. Of course, there is an example which can also be taken there. The example is that suppose you have a contract price of, let us say, 2 lakh rupees, and let us assume that 45% of the work is completed, and the expenses incurred till now on the contract, let us say, is 81,000 rupees. So based on this accounting standard, if you ascertain the profit or loss on this contract, it would follow the following steps. First is 2 lakhs is the total contract price, and 45% of the work is completed. So we'll assume that the amount that is certified is 90,000. It is completed, and we assume that it is certified, so it is 90,000. The expenditure incurred on this contract until today is 81,000. So we may reasonably say that there's a profit of 9,000. There's a profit of 9,000. Or if the contract completed is 50%, but only 90% of that is paid, then again we will take 50% of the contract is 1 lakh, 90% of that is cash paid, so we'll take 90,000 as recognized revenue, and we can still say that the profit on the contract is the difference between the actual amount that is recognized as revenue and the expenditure incurred in cost. So if you look at the next year, let us further assume that in the next year you have to incur under, let us say, 70,000 as expenditure. If you incur under 70,000 as expenditure in the next year, the balance of work to be done and which is done and certified would be 55%, which is 1,10,000. And the work certified or completed as certified now is 1,10,000. The expenditure incurred on this is 30,000. So we recognize the profit of 40,000. So in the year of completion, invariably it will be a little higher because this is the time when the contract is actually completed. So we don't really have to apply any principles of conservatism because the project is actually over. And since the project is actually over, it will be easy for us to ascertain the profit or loss on this contract. If you take a cost plus contract, on the other hand, as compared to the fixed price contract that we talked about, if you take the cost plus contract, I told you that there are two kinds of expenses: the expenses that are reimbursable and the expenses that are not reimbursable. So if the contract says this is the amount of the contract plus 20% to cover expenses, the contract is to construct the data center for a company. Let us assume that it's a huge project, and depending on the square feet that is agreed to be completed and depending on the rate, there is a cost estimate that is given. And based on this cost estimate, plus let us say a 20 or 25% margin to cover the other expenses and profits of the contractor, will be able to ascertain if there is a profit or loss. For example, let us assume that there is a project for, let us say, 100 crores to construct a corporate office in a prime locality. A multi-story corporate office is to be constructed at a cost of 100 crores. Expenses that are actually incurred on the contract amount to, let us say, 70 crores, and there are another 10 crores that are not reimbursed. So if you look at this, then the contract has an expenditure of 70 crores and the contract price is 100 crores. So there is a profit of 30 crores, but this profit will be further reduced by expenses that are not reimbursable. So we'll deduct another 10 crores and arrive at 20 crores as the profit for the contract. So it would be necessary for us to identify the expenses that are incurred on the contract which are reimbursable, and there are certain expenses of the contract that are not reimbursable. But for example, any expenditure that you incur on, let us say, office, which is not part of the site, which is elsewhere, such expenses probably and the overheads allocatable to that particular project cannot be taken as reimbursable. There are very clear terms as to which one is reimbursable and which one is not reimbursable. We'll have to take based on what is reimbursable and what is not reimbursable. We need to look at the amount that needs to be recognized as revenue as well as the amount that can reasonably be taken to the credit of profit and loss. Why is this so peculiar? It's because when you take a particular part of the contract as completed, and if you ascertain that as the profit, and based on the profit, if you are going to declare a dividend, you will take care to ensure that the project does not result in a loss when you actually complete. So for 45% of the project that is completed, if you say, let us say, so much is the profit, and based on that, if you declare dividend, what happens tomorrow when you have to complete the remainder of the project and that results in a loss? So it will distort the whole picture. And to make sure that that distortion does not take place, that is the reason people generally resort to what is known as the principle of conservatism. It's not only the work that has been certified as completed and the amount received from the contractee, which is a percentage of that work certified, and then you take that and match it to the costs that have actually been incurred, and to be on the safe side, you'll also be able to estimate what is going to be the estimated future cost for completion. If that is going to show you a loss, you should never recognize a profit. It is not ideal to recognize a profit if based on your estimate, if it is going to show you a loss for the remaining part of the contract that needs to be completed. It really does not make any sense for us to take credit for profit based on what is actually completed. It depends Because in some projects, in the initial stages, the certification as completed value is higher as compared to the actual expenditure that you incur. In terms of a proportion, the work certified or completed bears a higher proportion to the contract price as compared to the cost incurred on this contract. But subsequently, when you take this project and try to complete, you may probably have to incur more expenditure, because that is when skilled labor comes into play, which is very costly. All other items, including, for example, we are talking about construction, including plastering, flooring, electrification, plumbing, are all aspects that require skilled labor, and that may prove to be a little more expensive, but likely that sometimes it may also lead to a loss. In such case, if your estimates are going to show you that there's a possible loss, you will do well not to recognize revenue given in this year, because you need to adjust that so that ultimately there is a very clear picture that emerges both in terms of work already completed and the work that is yet to be completed. So in the second year, when you start and finish this work, it should not lead to a loss. If it leads to a loss, whatever you have done in the last year, now it's a little bit distorted, because you have recognized profits from a contract which has ultimately resulted in a loss. We need to be very careful to guard ourselves against this kind of a possible distortion.